Have you ever had one of those mornings where you look in the mirror and think, is this it? Is this all there is from now on? Maybe your kids are grown, retirement has settled in, and you're wondering where the spark went. You're not tired exactly, but something in you feels like it's waiting. Like a part of you still wants to wake up fully, not just from sleep, but from a kind of emotional hibernation. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not done, not even close. Because what if I told you the most powerful, exciting, and meaningful chapter of your life hasn't happened yet? What if turning 60 isn't the beginning of the end, but the beginning of something extraordinary? You see, something beautiful happens around this age. The world quiets down. The pressure to impress others fades. The race slows. And for the first time in decades, you get to ask the question, what do I want now? Not what your boss wanted, not what your kids needed, not what society expected, but what you want, deep down. This video is for you. Not the you people see on the outside, but the one inside. The one who still dreams, still hopes, still wonders what more is possible. And I'm here to tell you, more is not only possible, it's waiting for you. Let's talk about what I call the 9 pillars of the journey of rebirth at 60. These are not fancy theories or unrealistic ideals. These are grounded, powerful steps that can reshape your health, your identity, your relationships, and your purpose. Let's begin right at the heart of it, with something many people avoid after 60, asking, who am I now? Because for years, maybe even decades, you've worn so many hats. You were the provider, the caregiver, the fixer, the peacemaker, the rock, the one everyone leaned on. And you did it, sometimes with pride, sometimes with exhaustion, but you did it. But now those roles are changing, or maybe they've disappeared altogether. And that can feel scary, like losing a piece of yourself. But here's the truth. Those were roles. They were never the full story of who you are. This stage of life gives you a rare gift, the chance to return to yourself, to peel back the labels others gave you and rediscover the person you were before the world told you who to be. This isn't about finding yourself like when you were 20. It's deeper than that. Now you have the wisdom, the emotional maturity, and the quiet space to reconnect with what always made you feel alive. Maybe it's something you gave up. Maybe it's something you never even tried. Maybe it's as simple as remembering what made your heart race when you were young, before life got complicated. You don't need to reinvent everything overnight, but you can start by listening to your own voice again. Maybe you pick up a pen and write. Maybe you join a class you've always been curious about. Maybe you simply go for a walk alone and ask, what's next for me? Redefining who you are at 60 isn't selfish. It's necessary. Because without clarity on your identity now, the next chapter risks being written by others again. And you've earned the right to be the author this time. Now let's talk about your body. Because if there's one message society loves to push, it's that aging means decline, slowing down, breaking down, fading away. I'm here to tell you, that message is wrong. Your body isn't giving up. It's waiting for you to show up. And the good news is, it's more ready than you think. In fact, studies are now showing something amazing. People who begin taking care of their health after 60 often see faster, more meaningful improvements than they ever expected. It makes sense when you think about it. At this age, you have time. You have focus. You're not running after toddlers or grinding through 12-hour workdays. You can finally tune in and give your body what it's been craving all along: consistency, attention, and respect. Exercise doesn't need to be extreme. Walking, swimming, stretching, light strength work, it all counts. And it doesn't just help your heart or your muscles, it helps your mind. Every time you move intentionally, you strengthen the connection between your brain and your body. You build not just physical strength, but mental clarity, emotional balance, and even memory. And here's something else no one tells you. Your body remembers. That yoga class you took in your 30s, that habit of dancing in the kitchen, that season when you walked every day, those patterns are still in you. Your muscles, your bones, your brain, they remember. You're not starting from scratch. You're waking up what's already there. The same goes for your food. At this age, your body responds quickly to small shifts. Eat slower, drink more water, choose real food over packaged stuff. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. When you eat with intention, your digestion improves, your energy rises, and your sleep becomes more restful. But health isn't just what happens in your stomach or your joints. It lives in your heart, your thoughts, your sense of connection to life. Because here's the truth, most doctors don't talk about. Purpose is medicine. When you feel like you matter, when you know your day has meaning, your cells respond. Your immune system strengthens, your blood pressure stabilizes, your brain lights up. 60 is holistic. It's about wholeness, and it's completely within reach. Now, I want to touch on something many people shy away from: money. But not in the way you might think. Because at 60, the conversation isn't just about saving or spending. It's about freedom. You don't need $1 million to feel secure. What you need is clarity and a shift in mindset. Because you're no longer in the race to accumulate. You're in the season of optimization. That means asking yourself, what actually brings me joy now? What do I truly need? And what have I been keeping out of habit or fear or ego? Financial freedom at this age isn't about having more. It's about needing less and enjoying more. Maybe you downsize. Maybe you cancel subscriptions you forgot about. Maybe you stop buying things to impress people who aren't even watching. When you stop spending to fill a hole, you start spending to build a life. A coffee with a friend. A train ride to a place you've never been. A class that lights you up. These aren't expenses. They're investments in you. And here's something powerful. Your experience is currency. You've lived through recessions, setbacks, surprises. You've learned what matters and what doesn't. That wisdom makes you a better decision maker than ever before. You don't need flashy apps or risky bets. You need intention. And maybe, just maybe, you realize you already have more than enough to live richly in ways that matter most. And that, my friend, is where the journey really begins. You know, the funny thing about money is that once you stop chasing it to prove something, it starts to serve a different purpose. It becomes a tool, not a scoreboard. And that shift can change everything. You no longer feel weighed down by pressure to earn more, spend more, or keep up with anyone. Instead, you start asking different questions. Not, can I afford this? But, does this make my life better? Not, will this impress someone zero? But, will this nourish me mentally, emotionally, spiritually? And that brings us to something many people start reflecting on deeply at this age: relationships. Maybe your phone doesn't ring as often as it used to. Maybe some friendships have drifted. Maybe some people who were central to your life aren't around anymore, whether that's through distance, divorce, or simply change. It can feel lonely, but it can also be incredibly freeing. Because for the first time in a long time, you get to decide, who do I want close to me now? You see, when you're younger, relationships are often formed out of convenience. You're thrown together with co-workers, neighbors, fellow parents. You learn to get along, to make do, to maintain peace. But now you get to choose relationships that are built on something deeper: shared values, mutual respect, and emotional safety. It's okay, more than okay, to outgrow people. It doesn't mean there's drama or blame. It simply means you're evolving. And some connections won't evolve with you, and that's fine. The energy you once gave to keeping up appearances or holding on to one-sided friendships, you can now give that energy to nurturing bonds that truly matter. People who see you, who hear you, who celebrate who you are now, not who you were 20 years ago. At this age, friendship becomes something sacred. It's not about how often you see each other, but how deeply you connect. One real conversation can be worth more than 100 casual chats. One friend who lifts you up, reminds you of your worth, and sits with you in your truth. That's gold. And don't be afraid to make new friends now. Some of the most meaningful relationships in your life may still be ahead of you. You'd be amazed how many others out there are also seeking real connection, not small talk, but soul talk. That kind of connection heals more than any medicine ever could. As you begin to rebuild and refocus your relationships, something else begins to stir, a hunger to keep learning. And I want to talk about that because I know some people think learning is for the young. They think education stops when diplomas are handed out. But you and I both know that's nonsense. Your brain right now is more alive than ever, not in spite of your age, but because of it. You've spent decades absorbing life, making sense of patterns, reading between the lines. That means that every new thing you learn now doesn't just float around as trivia, it sinks deep. It connects to what you already know. It grows roots. And the beauty is, you get to learn for the joy of it. No more grades, no deadlines, no pressure, just curiosity. Maybe you've always wanted to speak Italian. Maybe you're fascinated by astronomy. Maybe you finally want to understand how your smartphone really works. Whatever it is, there's a course, a book, a group, or a video waiting to help you dive in. And don't underestimate how powerful that is. Learning something new, anything, lights up your brain like a switchboard. It builds new neural connections. It improves memory, sharpens focus, boosts mood, and even supports emotional regulation. But perhaps most importantly, it reignites your aliveness. When you learn, you remember that you are still growing, still stretching, still expanding. And that alone changes how you feel about each day. Plus, something remarkable happens when you mix learning with experience. You don't just absorb information, you understand it. You know how to apply it. You can teach it to others. And that makes you a mentor, a guide, a source of wisdom in your community and your family. In fact, there's a kind of power that comes with being both a learner and a teacher. You don't have to stand at a chalkboard to make a difference. Sometimes, sharing a life lesson with a younger friend, or helping a grandchild solve a problem in a new way. That's where real teaching happens. That's where your knowledge turns into legacy. And speaking of legacy, let's talk about something a little different. Let's talk about your creative side. Yes, you have one. Even if you've never painted, danced, written poetry, or played an instrument, creativity isn't just about art. It's about how you think, how you express, how you solve problems, how you experience the world. And here's the truth. Your creativity hasn't dried up. It's just been buried under to-do lists, obligations, expectations, and years of putting others first. But now you can uncover it again. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be yours. Write a story about your childhood. Plant a garden in a way you've never tried before. Rearrange your living space with joy. Start a photo project. Bake something new and beautiful. Creativity is about play, about color, about imagination. And when you give yourself permission to create, you also give yourself permission to be free. Something magical happens when people in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s begin to express themselves creatively. Their faces light up. Their posture changes. They begin to feel alive again, not because they've created something award-winning, but because they've touched. something true inside themselves. And here's the beautiful part. Your age is an advantage. You've lived. You've seen things, survived things, loved and lost and started over. That means your creativity has depth. It's not surface level, it's soul level. And when it comes from that place, it's not just meaningful for you, it becomes powerful for others too. You don't need to publish a book or sell your work or start a business unless you want to. But you do need to let yourself express again. Not to impress, but to release. To remember that joy isn't just for the young. It's for anyone who gives themselves the space to feel it. And that space, my friend, is something you can create, starting today. There's something special about giving yourself space. Space to breathe, space to think, space to feel without rushing. And when that space opens up, something else begins to rise, a quiet voice inside asking, "What's the point of all this? Why am I still here?" That question isn't a sign of confusion. It's a sign of awakening. Because once the noise fades, the career ladder, the parenting duties, the expectations, you're left with one of the most sacred questions a human being can ask. What is my purpose now? At 60, your purpose doesn't shrink. It deepens. You don't need a job title, a paycheck, or a public platform to live with meaning. In fact, your purpose now might be simpler, but more powerful than ever. Maybe it's being the steady, kind presence in your grandchild's life. Maybe it's using your experience to help someone else navigate something you've already overcome. Maybe it's waking up and choosing to live with gratitude, humor, and compassion, and letting that energy ripple outward. You don't have to be busy to be purposeful. You just have to be intentional. When you choose to live on purpose, even in small ways, you begin to walk through life differently. You speak with more care, you listen more deeply, you carry yourself with a quiet kind of power. And that power isn't about control, it's about clarity. Knowing what matters to you and letting go of what doesn't. Purpose at this stage is less about achievement and more about alignment. It's living in a way that feels honest, true, and rooted in your values. And when you begin to live that way, something beautiful starts to happen. You stop asking permission. You stop apologizing for who you are. You start showing up in your full self, without masks, without filters. That, my friend, is independence. And it's the kind that matters most. Independence of the soul. See, we've been told that independence is about doing everything on our own. But that's not true independence. True independence is being able to think for yourself, to decide what you want and what you no longer need to carry. At 60, you've earned the right to stop performing. You can say no without guilt. You can change your mind without explanation. You can walk away from relationships, routines, or responsibilities that no longer feel right, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. This is the age where you can finally stop editing yourself. You can wear what feels good, say what feels honest, do what lights you up. And that kind of freedom isn't selfish, it's sacred. Because when you live from that place, you give other people permission to do the same. There's something incredibly powerful about someone who owns their truth. Not in a loud, aggressive way, but in a grounded, peaceful way. That's the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout, because it's rooted deep. And as you begin to live from that rooted place, you'll start to notice something stirring beneath the surface. A pull, a yearning, a quiet awareness that life is more than just tasks, habits, or goals. That underneath all of this, the years, the memories, the plans, there's something deeper, something unshakable, something sacred. Call it spirit, call it soul, call it connection. Whatever name you give it, the experience is the same. A longing to touch something beyond yourself. A need to feel part of a bigger picture. A sense that even the smallest moments, the quiet mornings, the evening walks, the laughter over coffee, are part of something beautiful and mysterious. This, right here, is your spiritual awakening. And no, it doesn't mean you have to join a church or follow a guru. It simply means opening your heart to wonder. It means allowing yourself to be moved by the sound of the wind through trees, or the memory of a loved one's voice, or the simple miracle of waking up and breathing one more day. Spirituality in this stage of life is not about answers. It's about presence. It's about living with a sense of reverence, about being okay with not knowing everything and still finding peace anyway. Maybe you find it through prayer, or meditation, or nature, or service, or stillness. There's no right path, only the path that feels alive for you. And that path will often lead you to one powerful question. What do I want to leave behind? Legacy is not about monuments. It's not about being remembered in headlines. It's about living in such a way that your kindness echoes, that your values ripple outward, that your grandchildren, your neighbors, your community carry a little piece of your light because you chose to live fully, love deeply, and give generously. And here's the thing, legacy doesn't begin after you're gone. It begins now, in the choices you make each day, in the way you listen, forgive, encourage, and uplift. Your spiritual depth, your independence, your purpose, they all weave together into something unshakable, something sacred, something truly you. This is the journey of rebirth at 60. And no, it's not always easy. Some days will still feel heavy. Some habits will try to pull you back. Some people won't understand why you're changing, and that's okay. Because this isn't their rebirth. It's yours. The most important thing to remember is this. It's not too late, not to grow, not to feel joy, not to start again. If you're breathing, there's still more life waiting. And not just more life, better life, deeper life, truer life. So today, maybe you take a single step. Maybe you make a phone call you've been putting off. Maybe you walk around the block with a little more awareness. Maybe you sign up for that art class, or dust off that journal, or say no to something that no longer serves you. Whatever it is, let it be small. Let it be honest. Let it come from you. Because those small steps, taken consistently, taken with heart, will build a life that doesn't just look good from the outside, but feels right on the inside. And that's what this channel, Strong Elderly Life, is all about. Not just helping you live longer, but helping you live better. So if something in this message spoke to you, if you felt a spark, even a small one, I'd love for you to be part of this community. Hit the like button if this resonated with you. Subscribe if you want more uplifting, practical content created just for this incredible chapter of life. And leave a comment below. Tell me which part of this journey you're starting with, or which pillar spoke to your heart the most. Your story, your voice, your wisdom, they matter. To me, to this community, to the world. Here's to living fully, to beginning again, to honoring every breath, and to creating a life that fits who you are now, not who you used to be. Because after 60, your life isn't winding down. It's just beginning to rise.